Welcome everybody to Nom Talk Network. We're here. We actually discuss and review movies. The latest film drop. Why we're discussing the whole situation. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. It's been a while. Welcome to Nom Talk Review, where we discuss a movie film milestone while discussing the film by eating our favorite food and drink. Excuse us as I have psychotic little nom cat network cats all over the place here. Today we are talking about 51st dates. And why we're discussing, I'm your host, Alejandro. I'm a little going back on here because I do miss some of the Hawaiian food. I got a spam musubi and a chicken musubi in the background over here with a little bit of Coke. Want to also introduce my fellow friends here. Julie, why don't you introduce yourself and what you're having with us today?
Hi, I'm Julie, and I have attempted, this is bad, but I'm going to show you my little waffle teepee, okay? Let's
Waffle TV.
Can we see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Just
Wait. There we go. There's my waffle teepee.
Yeah.
Look, I had to make it without toothpicks, okay? Because I didn't have any. And then I'm gonna put some syrup on it. Like yeah.
Yes.
You know what? I tried. Anyway.
Heck yeah.
um but yeah, I couldn't find my toothpicks. And then I got some I didn't have spam, but I did have some turkey sausage and eggs in honor of the Hukilau Cafe. So that is what I'm noshing on. And also some watermelon juice from 7-Eleven.
Right on, right on. 7-Eleven is actually very prominent in Hawaii, so I respect that. Excellent.
Yeah, there you go.
JP, well, my friend, why don't you introduce yourself and what you're having with us today?
Alrighty, hi, I'm JP Rapozo, and today I actually went to go get waffles for a waffle thing as well, but they were all sold out. So I had to settle, I know. So I settled on noodles and pizza pockets. And because it is 51st dates, I had to get my pineapple spears. Yay!
Yeah, all right on.
And to drink because yesterday was the Super Bowl and I may have overindulged just a little bit. Got 3 bottles of Gatorade.
Hydrate, don't dihydrate. Excellent. And last but definitely not least, introduce to yourself, my friend, and what you're having with us today, Yaya.
Hello. I am Yaya. It's been a hot minute since I've been on. I feel like I'm the only one not on theme today because it's still technically the 4th day of Chinese New Year.
Right on.
So I have some dumplings and I also have some homemade pho.
Ooh.
So yeah. And
that looks amazing. I'm a little jealous.
And for drink, I have a Chinese like herbal drink called Wang Lao Ji or Wang Lao Bet. Yeah, so
right on. That sounds delicious. I mean, honestly, like I said, I only showed you my little plastic container. Let me see. I have this over here because you can't forget that. But this is the musubi here with the classic spam on one side and barbecue chicken on the other one. So this is one thing I really loved about Hawaii living out there was the fusion of food that was actually there as well. With that there, I would like to go ahead, guys, discuss the popcorn bucket ratings here. JP, we'll start with you, my friend. What is the popcorn bucket rating you have on yours? Out of 5 popcorn buckets?
All right, I gave it a 5.
5 out of 5, right on.
I found the movie very nostalgic, and I mean, I kind of had to just go there because it's super cute, and I had to give it a 5 because of all the animals. Come on now.
Very cute. Right on. Yeah. Out of 5 popcorn buckets, what did you rate it, my friend?
I also gave it a 5. Because I also with nostalgic reasons, but this was like a movie that was still able to make me laugh as much as it did when I was a kid, and it was just as good as I remembered it. So 5 out of 5.
Right on. Julie, my friend, out of 5 popcorn buckets. Oh my goodness, sorry, my lighting. Out of 5 popcorn buckets. What did you rate it, my friend?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I do agree. A lot of it still held up. Jokes still held up. Still gave me that same feel good, warm fuzziness. Just maybe some problematic jokes that but other than that, I'm still loving it. So
right on. Excellent. Yeah, I like the ratings. I'm a little different here, which we'll explain a little later. I got about 2.5 out of 5. I'd say it's maybe 3 in particular, but once again, there has been some true nostalgic reasons for it. Excuse me, let me actually show you my Lovely Nom cat here that's been causing some ruckus here, but 2.5 out of 5 with them. Like I said, we'll discuss that a little bit later, but I would also like to, get an idea for where you guys were when this film came out, get an idea, initially with the nostalgia reasons and so forth. Let's go ahead and start with Yaya, you, my friend. When were you first introduced to the film, and what was your initial first reaction?
Yeah, this is 2004, so I probably was in middle school. Um, I think, oh, dude, I actually don't remember how I think it was just that summer. It was just, I think it was my aunt, I think, that just like took me to like, okay, we're gonna go watch a movie. And it's an Adam Sandler movie. And I was like, okay. And I went to watch it, and it was just like, I don't know. I just remember just laughing like the whole way through. Of course, now watching it, there's like a lot of things I missed as a kid. There's a lot of things I missed as a kid. But oh, dude, I remember, and it was one of my favorite movies. This movie, especially when it came out on DVD, this movie and White Chicks was the two movies I would constantly binge. Like every time I would just rewatch this movie or rewatch White Chicks, and it was just I just loved it. I adored it as a kid.
Right on, right on. JP, you, my friend, with your initial introduction with the to the film, do you remember where you were, how you were introduced to it, and your initial reaction to the film when you first saw it?
So my family, I have a very large family, and our dad loves these silly nonsense type movies. So he's just all really big into it. I think the first weird movie he showed us that's similar to this that I can relate to is probably The Jerk with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
And so we just grew up with these type of movies, and so I was in I grew up in the 90s. So Adam Sandler, all of his movies were just part of like my genetic makeup, well, not genetic makeup, but you get what I'm saying. It was part of my upbringing. So 51st Dates, of course you have it. And it's Drew Barrymore. Come on now. So yeah, that's why I love the film.
Understand. Julie, my friend, what was your initial first reaction when seeing this film, and how were you introduced to the film initially?
Okay, so 2004, I feel like we've done a few 2004 films now because that was the year I graduated high school. Just dated myself. Yeah, 2004. And so I want to say, I don't exactly remember like the first time I saw it. Like I remember loving it, but I want to say it was with friends, and I want to say it was probably like I don't think I saw it right when it came out. I think maybe like later, maybe when I was in college a little later. And so like that means probably at a sleepover with my sorority sisters, perhaps. That's my guess. I'm trying to remember, but and yeah, I mean, I obviously also have grew up with Adam Sandler movies. So my band teacher, rest in peace, he showed us we go on these bus trips, right? To Chicago for like fun band trips. And every single year we watched Adam Sandler movies like the whole way there and the whole way back. So like I was already, it was pretty ingrained in me as well. And I was a pretty big fan. But this one I think came out like a little bit after some of his other ones. I feel like there was a little break in it for a while. And then I was like, oh, I remember thinking like he's back, man. Like he did it again. And yeah, and obviously I also love Drew Barrymore, and the two of them together. I think I'm not the only one that thinks they have like one of the most perfect on-screen chemistries out there. Like that's why The Wedding Singer is so good too. And like, yeah, they're just a really good on-screen couple. They're really fun to watch, and they just like you can tell they have really a really good friendship in real life too. So, but yeah, I would say that was my introduction. And yes, I definitely remember like falling for this movie very hard when I first saw it.
Right on. Well, my low rating is not due to my introduction or anything, so it's going to be kind of off. So I'll explain the reason why a little later. But actually, being introduced to the film 2004, my graduation year, so fellow 2004, yeah. But along with that, the initial interaction for me was because of graduation year. This was the comedy to go see. We went out to go see it with our friends. It was like the date night movie coming in. And I actually lived less than 2 miles down the street from where it was being filmed half the time. It was cool because at the time I had no idea what the film was called. I didn't know it existed at all, but the code name for it at the time being was Kisses, and it was the first thing, was the first proposal, 50 First Kisses. So on our street signs everywhere, it'd be kisses with an arrow directed to where we were at. And
those yellow signs, those yellow filming
the
signs.
yellow signs, exactly. And so I would go run my 2-mile run when I was out doing my thing, and I would run by, and there I am running by a sign, and people would be like, "Hey, stop for a minute, you mind?" And then make me sign a little voucher thing or little thing as I run by, just in case they use me for film. And honestly, I don't think I was ever into that at all, but it was just for like B-rolls, I'm assuming. And
Man,
stuff
if
like
I would have known that, I would have kept a closer eye on.
There's a little skinny guy there. No, exactly. But so with the connection with it, it was great. You mentioned before when it came to their connection with The Wedding Singer. Adam Sandler movies, to me, growing up, was my version of raunchy comedy. It was, but growing up as a teenager comedy. So it was kind of like going into it. What is it, Big Daddy? Going into it as well with what was it? Billy Madison. Yeah, exactly. And so there were so many things, that I was, used to. And so hearing his name, you knew that it might have not been considered a, Golden Globe or whatever, but it would have been pretty funny. So I was pretty hyped up into actually, getting to see it. So nostalgic connection, something I was consistently watching it. It was definitely there for it. Now, going to the comments here, Cue Ball says, "Hey, all. Because my favorite people just made some chili mac and drinking some tropical fruit punch. Oh, chili mac sounds delicious." Cue Ball says, "I would rate this movie a 4 out of 5. It's a good movie, but some of Adam's humor was some over the head and really corny bland. Again, I do love the story, and Adam and Drew were perfect on screen. So that's my thought." Right on, Q. I appreciate you inserting your opinion there. That's very, very valid points. Now, going into this here, just going to brief overview because I want to have time to discuss things about the film. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Cliff Notes version of what the film pertains, so we have a brief idea of what's going on. By all means, please feel free to insert stuff as I'm discussing it. The last thing I want to do is to overrun anybody. And then after that, we'll go ahead and get into questions and get talk about this, because I think there's a lot of good things to talk about. So coming into this initial film, we find out that right off the bat, we find out that our character that is played by Adam Sandler, which is Henry Roth, is a ladies' man. He prefers, dating, which it seems to be tourist, and lying to them like crazy and getting one-night stands left and right. You can tell that he's kind of like being that guy just so on, connections, and he has an attachment. One being Rob Schneider, which plays Ula. Local there, which happens to be his best friend. We also know that Henry Roth plays into like a SeaWorld equivalent for natural preserve for, in the island of Hawaii. Once again, please think we're trying to promote endangered wildlife, but at this time being, that's what his character is at there. With this, we find out that he goes on many dates. He's a secret agent. He is a teacher that is going to do things behind it. You name it, whatever sob story or cool little thing he can make up, he did. We find out later on, like I said, with his job, what he does and reflects on things, it just requires him to go back and forth on his island. We see a very, very colorful cast of characters while this is happening. He has lovely little penguin that he resorts to. He also deals with walruses that are adorable, work for him. His co-workers, which he has a love and hate relationship with, it seems, So, and then again, it does seem there's a little back and forth. It looks a little more heavy one side, flirtation for the other. His co-worker, I'm trying to get the actor's name here because his co-worker is quite funny, is going to be Alexa, which is played by Luisa Strauss, which is hilarious as well, too. So you get this colorful concept of that these people that are generally, working for the wildlife preserve that they work in. Once again, correct me if I'm wrong. I have to figure out if it's preserve or just a actual aquarium area. That being said, let's fast forward. He does many trips going back and forth, and he goes into a introduction to the, what is called the, what's the cafe called, guys?
The Hukilau.
The Hukilau Cafe, right? He gets to the Hukilau Cafe. We find out in his, sorry, my phone notifications are ridiculously loud. He gets to the Hukilau Cafe, and he is introduced to Drew Barrymore's character, which we are looking at here. We are looking at Lucy Whitmore. We see Julie nod to you on that wonderful waffle little teepee hat. I like that there. We see, we're looking at Henry Roth glancing over, and he looks at the looking at the counter and seeing that she is, messing with, or constructing this Waffle House like style, or, Waffle House, no tag for the restaurant, but an actual Waffle House. But, is constructing this. He sees this, goes over there, starts hitting it off with her. They have a really good, great conversation. But we start to be introduced to other cast and characters during the situation, which actually also work at the cafe. I want to make sure I give these guys some proper shout outs here. So we are looking at Nick, which happens to be the cook. And then we're also looking at Sue, which happens to be, looks like possibly the owner, one of the main waitresses, does a lot around the place too as well. We realized that, Amy and Nick, see what's kind of going on, and they just kind of make a note of it. And, he comes by the next day, and, Amy tries to set up because he has a weird interaction with the previous person that Henry was interested in, Lucy. Well, he finds out that once again with Lucy, what's going on, and he's not realizing, she doesn't recognize in any way, shape, or form. He makes some, weird gestures in regards to the smell of his hands, fish, you name it. And, it's just a really this awkward situation. Upon this happening, we find out later on when she takes off that the waitress here, which is Sue, tells him, yo, look, this whole situation, she got in a car accident in the back roads while getting pineapples with her father, which will be introduced a little later on. And we also find out the fact that, she loses her all short-term memory. So she still has a portion of long-term memory, but after recovering, she loses anything that is not part of her long-term memory. Fast forward, Adam still has some kind of, interest in her. I'm saying Adam, sorry, Henry has some interest in her. We find out later that he does another appearance coming to the cafe. And then I believe it's the local law that looks at the tags on her car after an interaction. We find out that she has a meltdown moment. We're introduced to her father, Marlon, and one of my also favorite characters, because Marlon's a great actor, but her brother. We are talking about the man, the myth, the legend, John Astin, which plays Doug Whitmore there, which is fantastic. Now you have this situation here. Exactly, Doug. So we find out that this family really cares for her, and they have a situation that is situated part of life, and it's fluctuating stuff. And it's almost drastically different on a level compared to Henry Loth. Or what he does, being a playboy and a star, but he seems to still have an interest in Lucy. Now, that long explanation there was supposed to be 30 seconds, but it was probably more like 15, 20 minutes. But the point is at this point in the film here, I want to go ahead and start off with Yaya here. We are now understanding our main characters, have an idea of who Henry Roth is. We get an introduction to who his love interest is, and because he's showing some interest in it, and we understand her plight and his possible interest. And we're introduced to these characters that are great. How are we on the story pace right now? What are you feeling about the film at this time being? Are things too fast, too slow? Anything that sticks out to you a lot? You name it.
I think like for me, this movie was the beginning half was paced very, very well. It's like you just see like all these transitions because it doesn't really drag out. Like you get the story, you get her story like right off the bat. Like the second time he sees her, you already get her background story. They're not dragging it out. There's not doing that. And you see like, you see the dad and like Doug like doing everything they can for their like, for Lucy, which is amazing in itself. Like they get like custom printed papers every day just so she can like have the same paper. Like they repaint the house, like they repaint the workspace every day after she paints it. And they're just doing all this stuff just to make sure like, they're just trying to make her comfortable. It kind of feels like hospice care, not gonna lie. It's kind of like that. Yeah, and it's really sweet. And like, of course, like, you have the introduction of like, Henry into her life. And at first, like he's like trying to like not con her, but very much like any way he tries to meet her. Like he puts that penguin out in the middle of the road in a little t-shirt.
God.
Right? And then, and then Ula, like he drags an Ula and Ula gets beat with a bat. Like I feel like these interactions were perfect because they're not dragging it out. They're just showing their day-to-day, like, okay, how he like gets to like talk to her that day. And they don't drag it out to the like, how they spend the rest of their day. And then we get, of course, like the dad finally like, okay, you can come to the house. You're cool, you're chill. If you're gonna actually like, interested in her, fine. Like I love how everything is paced up to this point because I feel that everything is to the point. There's nothing like too extraneous. You have like some funny bits, of course, like the day-to-day, excuse me, like with Ula and his kids and then like all that stuff. But I just think up to this point, it's been paced beautifully and it's funny and it's just entertaining. Like I'm not bored.
Right on. Excellent, excellent. JP, how about you, my friend? At this point, it could be the pacing of the film, the storyline, the characters that we're being introduced to. What is your vibes and opinion of what we've been seeing so far?
I think it was really smooth. I think we got the information in a timely manner. We got it exactly when we needed to get the main character's information. You get to see Henry in his normal environment. You get to see Lucy in her normal environment. You get to see that, like, okay, he has like these commitment issues. She has these commitment issues with her memory. um, and it makes just a really cute couple. Like you have this innocent and you have like this character who could possibly be a monster falling in love with this little innocent creature. And it could have gone south really, really bad or gotten creepy really, really fast, but it doesn't. It shows just like that's why I love the movie. It just shows like people can actually learn to grow and people can learn to change. And I just think it was a really great message. All of the characters are developed really nicely. Each character has a wound per se. So everyone is struggling with something, including the coworker. She's a little lesbian, just trying to get a little bit of and he even tries to help her out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's a really great movie of just people who are fractured trying to like just survive in a normal world.
I get that. Right on. Julie, with you, my friend, the same thing with the pacing of the film. What are you enjoying it? Is there anything that particularly sticks out to you like the most? The cast of characters at this point we've been introduced to, anywhere from the Hukilau to the actual aquarium and preserve that they're working at here. What are you feeling, my friend, at this point in the film?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everyone. I think the pacing is pretty perfect, honestly. I'm like no notes, no notes from a filmmaker standpoint, like no notes. No, but well, because here's the thing too, is that you have to realize that it is such a unique situation that like Lucy is in, and such a interesting plot and point of view from that perspective, that like I don't know how they would have done it any other way. Like you almost have to have like enough exposition where he does get to meet her multiple times and things like that, because of her situation and because of the way that the plot needs to go. Like you have to see how that advances with the fact that she thinks it's the same day every day. Like you have to see how that plays out, but that there are some little changes sometimes, like how they were saying like, oh, she sings on the days that she meets you. So like I don't see how it could have played out really any other way. So yeah, I think it was
Go right on. Sorry, I just want to make sure I didn't interrupt you. Didn't move the awkward pause on my end. No, I agree with you, which leads me to the next thing here. We do find out that he does, like both Yaya and Julie, you guys mentioned it. We both find out that he is so interested in her that he does all these things to stop and reiterate and redo this. And we find out that time being that both her father and brother come to go ahead and do their whole man muscle thing. This is a daughter. And of course, in a situation that's that delicate, they're going to be protective. But as you said, they mentioned she sings that all the times that, they meet you and so forth as well. So there's like a lot of positivity in there. So there's aspect of it. You get to see a huge cast along, continuously of traditional, what I call Adam Sandler cast and crew people in here. And because when we find out, like as you both as everybody mentioned here, that that seems to be a healthy relationship between Adam Sandler and her. Therefore, his family then admits all these positive things. They introduce her to her life. They go around, go into the facility that she actually has not been actually submitted to yet, but I believe it was like 3 Second Tom or something. Was that what it was?
10 Second Tom.
So I think 10 Second Tom, or the unfortunate incident.
I think that's where she was diagnosed initially. I think that institution, because that's where they study.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, that's right. Because she walked in and then walked out. That's totally correct.
And then they knew who she was. She's obviously been there.
Yeah. So yeah, because we get introduced to Danny Aykroyd, Dean Keats there at the time being. So there's a doctor going into we go to everything because basically what I forgot to mention is in this discovery and her and an example of her bad days, we things that she sees. For example, her brother gets tested positive for steroids, so he gets knocked out of the Mr. Universe competition, the local Mr. Hawaii one as well too. I mean, there's a lot of things that we that she discovers what she missed. Anything from certain teams winning. So yeah, so we get that aspect of it right now. With this quick thing, because I want to talk about more things here, because I know we could talk about a lot, so I definitely want to hit those points there. But we see at this point that Henry is really invested in her, and what he wants to do is, he comes up with the tape way, which seems to be a lot better being introduced compared to the journal that he would that I believe the father and brother would normally do. We find out during this whole thing that there's good days and better days. They don't really start making love until much later. It's even joked around about it in one of her bad days where she's heading off to the mental facility to better understand what's going on. Now, amidst all these travels and being introduced to everybody, we find out way before, that Henry has a goal to go out into the ocean to, celebrate on this old boat and to just explore around the world with what I would say a man-made boat without much electronics.
Alaska.
Thank you.
Particularly wants to go to Alaska.
Yeah. So he wants to Alaska, but it's big, massive boat. And the thing about it, though, is there's always mess ups there. We find those funny little things with Ula and his family going back and forth, talking about shark bites to goofy things of not, doing improper golf swings, but his kids are amazing. His kids are great at certain things, mentioning, life comments that Uli probably shouldn't talk about, saying the fact that, hey, are you really going to be into this girl? Are you going to want to be in this girl? She's going to be with you every ounce and every second of your life. He gives that whole negative family vibe, and yet we see him come through and be on the video and be there with are we that positive for him talking about this actual, this woman here. Now, amongst all this crazy chaos, it is misheard, or she hears on one of her nights while he's explaining a couple of people that he's probably not he's gonna keep delaying his Alaskan trip because he wants to really make it to her. And at this point, she's like, I don't want to do any, because at this point she kind of hears it, and we find out that she has a journal. And this journal has notes that she has made, of many occasions. So she's actually been keeping notes herself because she, hears it from her own words. So she gets suggestions to Henry what he could possibly do. But at the same time, she also admits that they're going to probably end this relationship because she doesn't want to delay him into, what's going on. So at this point, she cuts it off. We then see now the fact that he is having depressive episodes throughout the whole time, seeing her experience coming in here. We see some positive. It seems from the outside looking in that she now becoming a teacher at the facility that she was diagnosed with at the time being. She's making references and stuff, and he sees them take trips over there, and he just can't really take it. And he is just going nuts, and he's just having depressive episodes. And he's sad and depressed, and he just didn't expect to, feel this bad, but obviously he does because he has a lot of love in his life. So at this moment, he takes off and says, screw it. And he's about to take off on his damn boat, and he leaves. And that's when a certain song plays by the Beach Boys. I'm going to cut it off right here because at this point, what we get to at this film is we see the fact that there is a relationship. We get more introduced to the family that is there, that's taken care for. We get more introduced to Sue and Nick. Man, what is that one? I can't forget his name. He's not on the cast, driving me nuts. But he's one of the. Oh yeah, he has Joe Nakishima. He played the old Hawaiian old man that was always saying, "You're creeping me out. You're fucking out." So, exactly, and we make references and we see, some of the cast and characters. And the reason why I'm making this here, I want to stop this point here. I want to see how everybody's feeling at this point. Because now, hold on, I'm having some technical difficulties here. Let me exit out of this here so I don't lag so much. I apologize, guys. So at this point here, we see the major trial and tribulation. We see that he needs to travel to Alaska. We see that he has a loving family that's around him, and this loving family is now accepting him. But at the same time, we also see that herself doesn't want to break his heart, and she wants him to go. She's like, in my opinion, she's like white fanging him. She's like, just leave, just go, just get out of here, just get out of here, you white fang, just go. And we see it. So to me, I feel like that's where we're at right now. So I want to start with you, Julie, since we ended with you last on the last topic here. How are we feeling the plot line right here? Are we feeling good? Is there any characters that are really sticking out to you more? Have you have any favorite lines that really get into you right now? How are we feeling at this point in the film?
Um, I honestly can't remember any right now, but the old
You're good.
man's
You're good.
lines are some of my favorite. Like he has literally, I think, some of the best lines.
Yeah.
So random. Yeah, no, he's great. But I mean, and he, like you were saying before, he's very typical like Adam Sandler cast of characters. Like I just feel like Adam Sandler is so good at bringing these people in and having these like really awkward interactions with his character, and then his character is just like, all right, buddy, like just like so I really enjoy all of that, like because it's a very consistent with Adam Sandler movies where like somebody will just do something crazy and he'll just be like, okay, that just happened. Like, so yeah, there was definitely some of that in here, like I mean, like things that Ula says, things that the old man says, like but um uh as far as like how am I feeling at this point, like yeah, no, I mean I'm always like when that part comes up when he like breaks, she has to break up with him, I'm a little sad, but I feel like it does have to happen just rom-com formula wise, like because well, and also in this movie particularly because he has to realize, like they both kind of have to realize like how much they actually love each other and need each other, hence the scene where he finds all the pictures of him in her art room, and like and he's missing her. And also, can we just say that the scene where he's like crying singing wouldn't it be nice, like is iconic. Like I just when I hear that song, I think of that scene in this movie a lot. Like
He's like, oh, what a sweet old man. He's like, ah. He's so upset.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so like, and then part of it, like, so I hadn't watched it in a while, and this was I had just watched it recently so that I could talk about it tonight. And the part, when he's like, she's like, I don't want to hold you back from Alaska. I'm saying they're like, just take her to Alaska. Even though I know that that's eventually what happens, but you're just like, come on now, people, there's an easy solution.
Especially because like his whole life goal that's keeping him back is going to Alaska. I'm like, oh, get it, go, bye, okay, come back.
Yeah.
Which actually leads me to the next question. JP, my friend, at this point too, here we are, we see the conundrum between them. We're introduced to majority of the colorful cast and characters between the Hukilau Cafe to the actual aquarium to now. We find out the loving family's there with them. How are we feeling? Do you have any moments that stick to you the most? How are you feeling at this point of the film? What's the vibe of it?
It's great. I mean, it's fun. This is an ensemble of characters that everybody can relate to, and I come from a very small town, so I can only imagine what it'd be like growing up on an island in these small towns or these bigger towns. But with the whole sense of community, which I know a lot of people like, and why they have that large sense of community, and you see that come alive with this ensemble protecting Lucy. They're all like, oh, do not mess with our girl. You're messing with the wrong one, because literally we will run you off the island if you do her dirty. And so I just love it because like she just has this innocent soul that everyone's like surrounding themselves around, and they're like protecting. I mean, the dad and the brother, oh my God, they go through the most every day to try to just reset for her. I mean, even when they're refilling the shampoo, I mean, it's things like that that you don't understand. Like, if this actually was happening, you actually do this. These are things that you'd have to take care of. You'd have to refill the shampoo. You'd have to make sure that your body wash is refilled, their toothpaste, all of that, because eventually she will notice that it's starting to go down. And I think one of the lines, with that being said in the movie that really got me was, what is she going to do when one day she wakes up and she sees that she's 10 years older? She's lost 10 years of her life. Like, how traumatizing is that going to be for her? And that's basically like one of the lines that one of the moments that changes the movie, changes the trajectory of her story and all their stories. And just one other thing too is I like had to like kind of like bang my head a little bit when they were bringing whole pineapples out of a freezer. You live on an island, an Hawaiian island. I'm pretty sure you can just go to the little stand across the street or in town and grab a fresh pineapple. Why are you having to freeze a pineapple? It's like me having to go freeze an avocado.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Probably. That's a fair point.
Oh
Maybe
man.
they
Oh
need to
man.
be all the same ripeness level.
Maybe.
Evidently.
All right. Well,
Well, well, so remember how they were, this is actually a good point, because remember how they had to go up the island to get to pick out a pineapple though? It seems like that might have been a long enough journey where maybe he doesn't want to make that journey every day, you know? So maybe they
yeah.
are just like right there. I mean, yeah, farmers market, whatever, but like, you know, it didn't seem like there was like tons of options because they had to go so far to get that pineapple. I'm just wondering if maybe.
Well, yeah, which is kind of funny because I'll mention this before. Yeah, you want to ask the question here for you too as well. But like I'll mention here, not to interrupt, but it was one of the complaints of the film with the locals was the fact that they were going to a pineapple field and getting pineapples, because hypothetically speaking, you really can't do that anywhere on the island. There is like thousands upon thousands of pineapples, but you are not to go over there and pick the pineapple, because before the Dole plantation was kicked out, I'll go into that a little later because the Dole plantation doesn't exist there anymore. It was kind of crazy because that was one of the major complaints was you really can't go pick pineapples out there because of that and how long they take to die and stuff. It's kind of crazy. So sorry to interrupt, but goodness gracious, pretty fascinating.
That's a very
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
pineapple and banana trees, in my opinion, they look pretty and they taste good, but they suck to grow them because they die immediately and you have to clean them up and start the whole process of life again.
No.
It's nuts. Oh goodness. Anyway, I digress. Yaya, you too, my friend here. When we're actually figuring this huge conundrum, we see the plight, we see what he's fighting for, him being excuse me, my term, white fanged, and and we introduce this cast of characters here. What are you feeling? What is the vibe? And speaking of ripeness, how ripe is this video for you? This movie for you right now?
Ah.
I have to ask though, how long did it take between like her breaking up to him leaving? Because when prior to them breaking up, his like boat, his ship was like a pile of junk, and suddenly when he leaves, that thing is like immaculate. I'm like, how long?
That's true.
Yeah,
That
like
was
depression was a proper motivator, huh?
maybe. Because I was like, when I saw that, I was kind of like, wait, wasn't like there's like flowers and stuff growing on the thing? What happened? Like, where's all the rust?
Did you actually get this accomplished in 50 dates?
Right? Oh my
That's
gosh.
a
And
good
we think of 50,
question.
yeah, like 50 days, that's like what, a month and a half? It's like
Yeah.
I can't even write like something in a month and a half, like much less a boat.
Which I should just imagine that it was a long enough time to get the boat ready, and like they just took their time.
Well, if Udo kept on falling through the boards like he did, then maybe it
Right.
Right?
Definitely needed some work.
Where did he
Oh
get
yeah.
the time to work on the boat when he's too busy falling in love with her every day?
Right?
Okay, that I can see that. I can see that.
So I was just kind of like, that ship looks awfully too good. It's too
I
clean.
bet that him and
It's
the
quite
dad
bad.
and Doug all just like made an effort to like refurbish the boat and be like, okay, this has got to be our goal. Like, let's get this ready to go.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
if
know.
it's the dad's fishing boat? Because the dad
Oh,
was a fisherman.
maybe.
Oh.
That's true. That's a good point. He is a fisherman.
But up to this point, like, of course, we always get that lull, all comedies have to have the sad in order for, like, the feel good to happen in the end. But I don't know, this part for me lulled a little bit. I think that's just for me, all comedy movies, though. Sometimes, like, it just lulls a little too long. And for me, this one's like, yeah, you see their day to day. But also because now you don't kind of have like a nice time frame, as I said, of like how much of a time span between point A and point B, that for me is kind of like what is going on. But it's still really cute to see, like, she's doing her day-to-day thing and she sees happy, and he's like trying not to mess it up because he sees her at the aquarium. He doesn't like try to do like, the introduction or like the trying to hit on her again. Like, he actually cares for this girl, and it's really sweet. It's like, for like a playboy like we saw in the beginning, that was just like all these women, like, this is so sweet of his character. I also did want to point out, I'm like, I really liked that this movie didn't like, because the reason why he was such a playboy is because like his girlfriend from like college like slept with her like female like professor or something like that, and that
Yeah.
caused his like scared
His
of
PTSD relationship thing.
exactly. But I like that it didn't like really emphasize, it wasn't like his major character thing, that like it was just kind of like, it happened, it's why. But you know what, I like this girl now, which is really sweet. super sweet. And I'm like, I understand, like, because I, like, take care of, like, older people. I understand wanting to keep your family next to you as long as possible, but I'm just like, when the dad was, like, doing all this stuff prior, like, taking care of her, I'm just like, dude, what if one day, like, he's dead?
Yeah.
And then, like, there's no one to do this. Like, I feel bad for Doug. Doug, like, basically, they gave up their lives just to take care of her every day. Like, they can't go on their, like, fishing thing anymore. Like, Doug is just on his juice, but, like, he can't do, like... Him and his juice and his wet dreams. He's like waiting
Oh, his juice and his wet dreams. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, wait a minute. Speaking of wet dreams, on the next thing real quick here, it looks like we actually meet ultimately, Henry Roth's wet dream, because what ends up happening, we discovered that we find out at this point, right? He sees Jessica again. He sees her and he realizes, oh, I'm sorry. I left off the point when he's out to sea and he has an emotional moment. Julie, you mentioned it. Oh, he's such a sweet old man. Give me the stuff. He's like, oh, fuck him. And he's upset because he's singing this note. And then it hits him. It hits him the fact that she remembers him. He does a full crazy turn, heads back, does this dramatic freaking run, heads over to the facility. It's like, oh, do you remember me? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, fuck. And she's like, no, but come here. So takes her to the room and sees that she's having this whole sixth sense moment with him the whole freaking time. Sees various pictures in the hundreds, things with an egg-shaped head, skull jokes that they made in the past. And we come to consideration the fact that we have, like, okay, cool, I do remember you. I do remember what's going on, and I can't necessarily explain it, but you're really important to me. And we see this, and he gets back, and we find this really loving moment, gets all crazy, everybody's great, the community aspects of it. They get up, and next thing you know, cuts to a scene, hypothetically speaking, after the emotional moment with the family members and everybody else getting together, and it cuts off to the scene where she wakes up, and now she has a pregger baby's in her stomach, and she kind of gets up, but at the same time he comes in and there's the baby, there's a tape, and he listens to the tape, and it goes into this whole crazy thing that she's pregnant and has a baby right now, and it's explained what's going on. Or is she pregnant, have a baby, or she just have a baby? Like,
I don't think she's pregnant. I think
for some
she
reason
just
I thought
has
she's
the
pregnant.
kid. Yeah,
she already had the kid. I think. I don't.
Okay, because I thought she was mid. I thought she was mid having like a second one or something. But at this point, we see, because like regardless, she has a kid. I'm wrong. I thought she had one, but regardless, I know she has a physical. See the physical child at that point, and with Adam Sam, then you see the family, her father in the background, and then on this trip, it's really emotional, and she gets all teary eyed, and there's acknowledgement. Boom, it's there. Done. Now, the reason why I'm answering this here, I want to get some opinions on the end of the film here, what's going on, but I also have to give my opinion. The only reason why this film goes under 2.5 to me is three things come into consideration that kind of form in this, and they kind of nip me in the rear end. And by all means, I want to continue to talk about this. I do not want to ruin this, but one, I think a very important thing happens in the film, that if they didn't do this thing in the film, that it would be considered unethical. And that is her breaking up with him and finding out that she still remembers him slightly. Because if she didn't, in my opinion, this love story is a little shady. That's where I also kind of hesitate in the background. I don't think that his actual love for her is negative in the end, but I think the influence at the beginning kind of throws me off. I see it, I get it, I'm like, oh, it's cute, but then I'm like,
manipulative.
Exactly, because I'm like, you just want a piece of ass right now, and I just and you can tell. But then again, I can see how it changes, and realistically speaking, if we're talking about the human condition, it does trend to happen that we find people attractive. When we find people attractive, we then show a little more interest, and that interest, sometimes we find the deeper love in them, and then sometimes we don't fall in love with people until we've known them from a long time. So I don't want to intertwine or you get that misconstrued. 3, the colorful cast of characters that we had throughout the whole film are fantastic. We have proper, I would say, representation of actual locals there at the Hukilau Cafe. However, I have an issue with Ula, and I also have an issue with Alexa. Now, not how Alexa's portrayed, but how they treat Alexa in the jokes, of being the fact that she can't tell what sex Alexa is, and that's the weird thing. That's the butt and the joke, not the fact that anything. But once again, comedy goes over time. I mean, it develops. Things happen. We find what's funny, what's not. So once again, not a pick so much. 2, my major thing with Ula is the fact that he says words that don't exist. Yes, some of it does exist for it, and making local references and so forth as well. But I almost make sure it seems to be made fun of in a proper representation. Don't get me wrong, he's Filipino, which is a huge huge population in Hawaii. So those are locals as well too. So I'm not complaining about the aspect of who he is. It's just how he's portrayed the actual character there. And then I'll throw this one in here for the sharks because the shark attacks are not a very small kind over there. So not really that big a deal. However, a shark bite will look very, very tremendously more than that. I want to get the doom and gloom that out of the way. That's the only reason why there's 2.5 out of 5 for me right here. But I want to continue to talk about this while we have time. So at this end of the film here, I want to start off with JP here. The ending of the film, when it comes to the actual concept of JP. So I'm gonna ask. So as you're saying this, well, you know what? I want to come back to you later because Cue Ball redeemed "You're So Punny," so I would need you to come up with a pun a little later. So I'm going to come to you a little last. I want you to have time to think about this. I don't want to put you on the spot like that. So,
oh my gosh, sorry. I got third person last episode.
No, yeah, me too. I got third person before, and then I had to review it. Thank you, Cue Ball, for this. So we will come back to you, but we'll let you prepare for that, by the way. Julie, I want to start off with you here. So now that we're at this point in the film here, the ending for the film, how did it feel for you? And two, would you change your rating any way, shape, or form about this film and just the initial vibe at the end about it?
No, I don't think I would change my rating. I think I'm gonna stick solid at a 4. I feel like that's a pretty fair rating for this movie. I mean, like it is one that it has a special place in my heart, but it's not like in my top 10 movies, I will say that. But it is up there. It is up there. So that's why, it's we'll stand steady at a 4. But no, I like the ending. Like, again, it seemed like I was saying before, like there seemed like that's the only way that it could have happened, I feel like, because if you wanted it to be a happy feel good movie, which I'm sure that is what they were going for, it kind of has to end like that. Like I said, I mean, everybody wanted them to eventually go to Alaska because, and that's the best of both worlds, because essentially, if you think about it, Lucy can be anywhere because she's gonna have to reset her memory every morning, no matter what, no matter where she is. So like, it kind of works out that he, as long as he's got a video player, he can play her the video. She can still have her little journal, whatever. And no, I think it's like really, really cute and really sweet. And yeah, it makes you feel good. And like, that they did make it work. They got married, they had a kid, the dad and the brother are still part of the family, and like, and they're all getting to like explore this cool new world. So not just Henry, but the whole family is getting to like explore Alaska, where I'm sure they've never been before. So that's like cool too. I mean, and I love Lucy's face at the end where she sees the mountains and she's just like, like, because it's so beautiful and like it's cold, but it's also really beautiful, but yeah, excellent. Like I like those little moments, and it's not
fantastic, excellent. Yaya, you, my friend, on the ending of the film, the initial vibe of it, how did it feel for you? Did you feel like there was a dramatic justice there, and would you keep your rating the same?
So, of course, has to have that happy ending. We love that happy ending. We were waiting for it. It's like, there is one thing that I did like, now as an adult, like thinking back, I'm just like, it's kind of cruel to actually have her have a kid. She actually made this point before, when she was breaking up with him. She's like, what am I gonna do? Waking up every morning and I suddenly have this giant pregnant belly. Like, yes, like they have the video, that thing, but like, when you wake up, when you're pregnant, you don't have time to look, you're looking down there, and it's like, imagine her horror every morning, like before like seeing the videotape. That's like the only thing for me as an adult now that I don't think was okay. It's because I think that is a little cruel. Like, of course, like, you want the happy family, oh, look, they have a kid and everything's fine. Like, what she said before, they're still fine. But that part for me was little but her going with him, I feel like it's much more realistic than just her staying in Hawaii, though. As I said, like, if her dad, like, when he leaves, her dad still has to be the one like taking care of like her, because I don't feel like Doug is gonna do it like after like the dad's gone.
Doug cannot be trusted with that.
Doug cannot be trusted with himself.
For the record, we see the dad on the ship, but did we see Doug on the ship at all?
I think Doug is with Alexa.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because they did the whole thing. Yeah. Gotcha.
Oh
I
wait,
think
was he not on the ship? I
he,
thought
he
The
was, he
dad
was
was.
in
I
the
just didn't see
video.
Doug. Yeah.
He was in the video because he and Alexa were sitting
Oh,
next to them. They were being like
right.
all
Okay.
cute. So yeah, so I think Doug ended up with Alexa, which is cute in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. It's cute.
Um, but yeah, so I'm like, this is the most realistic, at least, like, no, this is good for her healing, as opposed to just keeping her like in her own little like delulu state like for the rest of her life. And she ends up, she's if she, like, once her dad's gone, she's gonna end up at that facility anyways, and all of that was done for naught. At least,
Yeah.
yeah, if you think about it. And then so at least with this way, like, every day she's doing something different. She is not healing because, you know, it's permanent, but at least it's not like that monotonous every single day, and the whole waking up, you know, 10 years, 50 years older and facing that. So ending wise, it's great. Having a kid, not my thing. I would still keep my popcorn rating the same though. It's a good nostalgic movie. It's just a movie that I would always go back to when I need a good laugh, or yeah, it's just like, it's always a good movie.
Excellent. And JP, if you have the pun, my friend, go ahead. And also, ending of the film, the vibe, romantic justice, and would you keep your rating the same?
Well, in the end, I think it's safe to say that everybody lives pineapple ever after. I'm so piney.
Nice.
Love it.
All right.
Love it.
I know. All right. I think the end is just, it's super silly. They definitely, like, the fall of Act Two, the half of Act Two was like very, very, like Yaga was saying, it was just like, okay, it's going on a little too long now at this point. Like, it was going on for forever. And then, like, Allison at the end, all the strings are basically all wrapped up very, very quickly, as we see. And that's one of the issues with the film that I do have, is that we don't get to see these. As a writer, I like to see my characters live a little bit happier at the end, instead of like, oh, okay, we resolved it, now we're done, bye. That's the movie. I want the audience to see, I want to see them live their new life, see them, what they've learned, see how they've overcome these obstacles that have been placed in their past. I mean, writers, I'm going to agree, I forget if it was Julie or Yaya who said it, but we're so mean. We were so mean to Lucy. And as writers, I always said, I had a lecture last week, and in my lecture, I taught the students, I said, it's not the antagonist in the story that is the meanest to the characters. It's us as the writers. We put them through hell, and it can be so sadistic. And this is a prime example of how horrible we are to these characters. We are abusive. I think we've all kind of talked about the entire thing, like, towards the beginning. Like, it did have the opportunity to become really, really creepy, especially because he was such a womanizer, you know. But in the end, everything settled fine. Everything settled fine. So
Right on. Yeah, honestly, I'm almost the same vibe with you guys. I would think that I might change my rating from a 2.5 to a 3. Only reason being is, hypothetically speaking, looking at the actual film itself, it's a traditional Adam Sandler film. Adam Sandler seems to go with the flow of a lot of what I would consider general Hollywood. And what I mean by that, you know, whatever the times being, his comedy is usually borderline funny and acceptable for those times being. I do believe that he is, you know, changed in the sense of what his comedic aspects of, or the general thing is the same for it. Now, my only disagreement, once again, yeah, you put it really, really out there and plain and simple. That was the thing that got to me, is she had a kid. To me, it wasn't the fact that I don't think she wouldn't want a kid in the future, but I think it's still hard for somebody to have an ethical decision daily that they want a kid, because there's so many things going on in that particular day that could change your influence, your mind of that always quick, you know, situation. I'm not saying that us as adults will not change our opinion for something, going anywhere from, you know, a horribly early teenage years of being pregnancy all the way up to, you know, a much older adult years during pregnancy. I'm not saying that one can't change their mind or develop it, but I'm saying that a day is a very short time to think consistently on it too. So that's my only like iffy on that thing as well too. But that being said, I appreciate you guys coming up with us today. I want to go ahead and touch base with all three of you to talk about on social media and where we can actually find you. Yeah, my friend, where can we find you on social media, my friend?
Oh my gosh, you can find me almost everywhere now at this point. You can actually find me here on Twitch Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at My Hamachi. I stream games. I do a lot of different games. Right now I'm playing Resident Evil 4 and Lethal Company. So that's a lot of fun. You can find me on YouTube at Jade Palace Yaya, where I do videos about Chinese culture, Chinese history, folklore, all that fun stuff. I just wrapped up my Chinese New Year series, so that was a whole ordeal. And you can find me on most socials such as Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff, either at Jade Palace Yaya or at My Hamachi.
Right on, right on. JP, you, my friend, where can we find you in the socials?
Alrighty, you can find me on Instagram at Rapoetz, Rapoetz, and you can find me on TikTok under the same name. Yeah.
Right on, excellent. Julie, last but not least, my friend, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on the Insta at Julie Raelyn, Raelyn. I also just kind of started dabbling in the threads as well under that same username, so we'll see if I consistently keep up with that. But and then I'm on TikTok at JRaelady, JRaelady.
Right on, right on. Well, I am Alejandro. You can find me here, also on Instagram at IAMCOWIE. That's I am Cowie. Also Facebook at Alejandro Cowie. All those social media network things, doing shenanigans, talking trash, doing film projects, having fun, and I'm also enjoying just having fun with you guys here. Now, thank you all again for tuning in. Be sure to join our Discord to keep the conversation going, as well as subscribing to all platforms at Nom Talk Network. Tune in to our next show, which will be our host and eighth guest, Julie, Mikey Flores, and possible others, where we talk about the film on the 16th, Lisa Frankenstein 2024. There will be spoilers, hint, hint, hint on that. So please tune in with us. Once again, we appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, which is the ways of joining us, and you guys have a nomorific day.